Good morning everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Morning Coffee with Cameron. In today's video, I wanted to show you how you can use a third-party script library for UVI Falcon called Falcon Punch to create really epic generative atmospheric pads for your tracks. I picked up the Falcon Punch add-on when I first got Falcon, and ever since this has been one of the main ways I create my pads and atmospheres for my tracks. This is also really useful for creating sample packs and things like that because you get a unique result every time, and there's lots of different kind of extensions on this idea, from creating multiple layers to doing multiple instruments utilizing this, and it's a really cool way just to create epic sounding atmospheres that are really easy to do because ultimately I'm pretty lazy and don't want to spend hours tweaking my atmospheres and pads. I'd rather just kind of throw something in, get something out, and be like, sweet, that sounds good, let's move on. So in this video, I wanted to show you how to install the library, I wanted to show you how to utilize it, and show you a couple ideas for how to create multi-layered things that sound really cool, and then show you how to resample this within Falcon to get the end result, which sounds like this. So let's go ahead and dive in and get started. Okay, so here we are with Falcon up in DAWg, and I wanted to quickly show you kind of the end result of the first stage of this process, which is creating generative random stuff that we can then resample and further process using Falcon using this third-party library. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold down a single note right now and just let you hear kind of the first stage of this process. Which is pretty cool, and that's what I really like about this extra little script library. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk you through installing these scripts first, and then we'll break down how to do this, and then get into the resampling part where we turn this into a really epic texture. Okay, so first let's go through installing these scripts. So this used to be on a website, but the website is now down. However, it's still up on GitHub, so I wanted to walk you guys through how to install this from GitHub. It's not actually that hard. And hopefully this stays up. I'm not sure what happened to the website, but this is Falcon Punch, which is an extra script library that is absolutely awesome. So the link's gonna be down in the description below, but once you go to the page, this is how you're gonna need to install it. So you're gonna click clone or download and then download the zip folder. Now I've already done this, but it'll download, you can go to your downloads and then you're gonna need to extract everything. Okay, so once you've got it downloaded and extracted, I've got it in here, you're gonna open up this master folder and you're gonna see a folder called Lua. These are the actual scripts. So you're gonna open up this Lua, and we're gonna do Control A and Control C and Command A, Command C on Mac. And now we need to install this to Falcon. So to do that, you're gonna go to your documents and UVI, Falcon, user presets, and there's event processors here, script processor, and then you can make a new folder called Falcon Punch. Then in here, you paste them and away you go. If you have Falcon open, you're gonna need to close it and reopen it, and then everything will be there. So now we're ready to go. So I've opened up a new instance of Falcon here to get things started. So let's go ahead and kick things off nice and simple here. We're gonna grab an analog and we're gonna leave it on a sine. And I'm gonna open up the amplitude envelope here, drop the sustain, and we'll up the release and decay just to create kind of a nice sine pluck sound. So it should sound like this. We're gonna make this a lot more interesting. Just for right now, the sine is a good thing to demonstrate with. So we've got this ready to go, and now we can go over to events. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this arrow here, and what this is going to do is open up the next part of the hierarchy in Falcon. So this is gonna be layer 1. Now the cool thing is this can be applied to multiple layers. For right now, we're gonna keep it simple and just do a single layer, but do keep in mind that you could do this per layer. So you can add several layers of different sounds to create something a lot more epic, which we'll touch on in a minute. So I'm gonna open up layer 1, and then I'm gonna go here, which is going to be our event processors, and we should see user presets, Falcon Punch. So we're gonna need to add 3 different things here to get this to work. First up, we're gonna want a random play. Now, if I hold down a note, this is going to just keep playing, and right now it's gonna be every 500, I believe this is in milliseconds. So let's just up this to something, 700, 800, somewhere in there. And now we're gonna hold down a note, and we can up the randomize. So now it's just gonna kind of play whenever. We could also up the note duration. In this case, I'm going to leave it down because we have a nice attack and, well, we have a nice decay and release, which creates the plucking feel. So right now, we just get one note playing randomly, which is good, but we need to take this one step further. So next up, what we're going to grab is random note, and this is going to just play a random note. So what we're going to want to click is tonal, and this is going to lock things to be a tonal pitch rather than microtonal, which we don't want. So now we're going to go to deviation, and we're going to hit 12 or 24. That'll do 2 octaves. Velocity, I just like to turn this up to 50 to 80, somewhere in there, just depending on what I'm feeling. Pan and delay don't really seem to do much of anything, so I'm just going to leave that off. So right now, if I hold down another note, we're getting random notes playing randomly, which is good, but it's not really all that useful because it's not in a specific key. And that's where this next one comes in. We're going to go to scale, drag that in, and now we can select from a predefined set of scales. So we could do, let's just do A minor. So we're going to go to A minor, which is Aeolian. And now if I hold down A, we'll just get an A minor random thing going on. So that is the fundamental concept I want to show here, is you can do this to create generative things. And now we can, go in here, we could add some effects, we could do lots of stuff, we could add lots of modulation and all that kind of cool stuff. So what I've got going on in the patch I showed here in the beginning is the same thing. So events here, I just made like an A minor chord with a G, which is the 7th, and everything else is pretty much the same. We could maybe up the time. And all I did was actually use the pluck oscillator instead, which I find can be just a bit more interesting. And that's really it. So if I hold down a note here, got a cool plucky thing going on. So I'm going to go ahead and for now disable my effects. And we're going to go ahead and add another thing going on here with the multi-granular oscillator. So I'm going to go over to our oscillators. We'll do multi-granular. And let's go ahead and grab one of my music box samples. I think we'll do that one. So this is A. So I'm going to unlink these, and we're going to set this one to be A3. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. And now we should have this layer, C3, A3. So now if we play a note, they should be both in tune. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and up the voices and then do some position spread. We'll do time spread. Up the size and density a bit, add some jitter, just make things kind of nice and randomy. Duration variation, we'll add some pitch variation here just to get some detuning. We'll go ahead and randomize position as well and slow down the speed and go ahead and set the loop mode to forward. And now we should get kind of a cool textural thing up on the top end here. Cool, so we could use the gain here to blend these. I'm just gonna tweak these settings a bit. Sweet, so that's sounding good. So we can maybe go in and add a layer here, maybe just some static noise and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and do that now. And then I'm going to talk about applying some modulation and stuff to make this a bit cooler. So let's go ahead and in the tree here, we're going to go to program and we're going to go to add layer. So I'm just right clicking on new program there. Let's go to layer 2. We can solo this for now. And in our oscillators here, let's grab a noise. I want to create maybe some static. Make it stereo. This just adds some, cool character. Let's add another noise here. And let's make this, let's do pink noise and drop the gain. So we can get almost kind of a cool vinyl crackle thing going. And then we can apply a filter to this layer. So let's go ahead and do let's do a digital EQ actually. Go to default. And I'm going to go ahead and high pass. Maybe around 200, and we'll add a low pass, maybe around 5 to 7K. Now we just get a nice bit of texture. We can tweak this a little bit. Maybe open up that. There we go. Something nice and easy like that. And we're just gonna blend this in real low. But once we put these two together, we get just a little bit of extra texture, which is going to be important later on. So from here, you could do another layer, and you could add a new event processor per layer. So if we did a third layer, we could do some other sounds, maybe a sine wave or something. And actually, let's just go ahead and do that now. So let's go ahead and do add layer, and we can name these actually as well, just to keep things organized. So we'll name layer 2 noise, we'll name layer 1 pluck and grain. And then down here in layer 3, we could maybe name this as just sine. So I'm gonna add another layer here that's just gonna be a sine wave kind of plucking around. So let's go ahead and do analog. There we go. And amplitude envelope, we'll just do a nice sine pluck sound. And just to make this maybe a bit more sparkly, I'm gonna go ahead and up this chorus tune here, 12 semitones. So this is just gonna be a really high sine pluck layer that will blend in relatively low. So we're gonna go to our events here and do the same thing. So I'm gonna grab scale, random play, and random note. Let's go ahead and make this one maybe just a bit more delayed and out there. Maybe up the randomize. We'll do deviation of 12 again, up the velocity quite a bit. And then let's go ahead and reference what we had going on here. So we had, yeah, that chord. So let's go ahead and do same thing here. So I'm just gonna disable all of these. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, so we need A, C, E, and G. Cool, let's go back to the edit of this layer. And we forgot to hit tonal. Let's hit tonal there. I'm just gonna kind of work on blending these together. So on this layer, the sine, I want to add some kind of delay because I like where that's going. It's just not quite there yet. Let's do an analog chorus and then a dual delay. Stereo, we'll do magic box. I just really like that preset. And let's drop the speed of the chorus. Cool. Now we've got something really, really interesting. So now let's go to our pluck and grain, and I'm going to show you some modulation stuff here, just because people ask me about this sometimes and figured I would explain it. So I've got a vowel filter, expander filter, dual delay, and a spark verb here. So the vowel filter has some modulation, as does the expander filter, and I wanted to show how you can edit the modulation. So what I did is right click here on morph and format and everything else, add modulation, and I went to layer, so this is applied to that layer, and added a couple different things. Drunk is on the expander filter, LFOs 1 and 2 are tied to this vowel filter. So in your tree view here, we can go to this layer, which is pluck and grain, and we can open up LFO 1. So right now we can adjust the frequency and depth and stuff. You can also right click and hit edit modulation, and you can edit it there. But what you can do is actually clicking the target destination is change the ratio, which is the amount it's going to affect it. Because if I have it all the way up to 1, you'll see it's going to go all the way up. In this case, it's the format here. So all the way up and all the way down, which we don't really want. So I'm going to drop the ratio, and you'll see it's only moving it a little bit. So I did the same thing here, LFO2, I just changed the ratio, and with the drunk, I did that as well. I changed the bandwidth and then the ratio here. So that's a really important thing. So if you use a single modulator like one LFO, but you don't want it to affect the entire range of a parameter, you can go in and adjust the ratio in the tree view. So all of that said, now we have this. Which is really cool and really pretty. So I'm gonna go ahead and edit the modulation here. And I'm gonna go ahead and maybe change the bandwidth a little bit. Okay, so now we should get something maybe a bit darker because I don't want all that brightness on that pluck. Cool. So now what I want to show you guys is how we can resample this using Falcon to make something even cooler. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this down here. So this is my pad. I'm going to add a new audio lane. And then I'm going to go Falcon post. Make sure this is the right one. Okay, so now we've got that routed. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just record here and hold down a note and let it run for a minute. Cool, very pretty, and we're done. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and just trim up this audio clip a little bit. So I want to get rid of just any blank space that we don't need. Go here and trim this back so we get that noise the whole time. And now I'm going to go ahead and bounce this. And now we have a new audio clip we can drag back into Falcon. So let's go ahead and add another Falcon here. All right, and I'm going to go to my files in my project. Drop this in. I know this is in the key of A, so I'm going to go ahead and make this A3. I'm going to right click here and do multi-granular. So now what we're going to do is just make this a huge epic ambience really, really easily. So I'm going to do position spread like all the way up. We'll up the size and density and stuff, jitter, duration variation, pitch variation. I think we'll just do random here. Drop the speed way down. Set the mode to forward. And now if I hold down a note, we should get a really cool pad. So we'll just go ahead and tweak some of these parameters. Cool, so from here what's neat is we can actually hold down a note an octave apart just to get some different movement and stuff, but it's gonna come out with this really epic sound. So let's hold A2 and A3. We could even add another octave up. Really neat stuff. So from there, we could go into our effects and add like another spark verb or something. Just make it like a really big spark verb. We could maybe add the tape echo, just because the tape echo is pretty cool. Something about like that. Maybe drop the roll off a little bit. All right, and then why not? Let's add a chorus in between that's just really slow. And now we should get a really epic pad. Now this can take a bit of work to get right, and one of the things we're facing here is the pad kind of starts on a C, and because C major and A minor are kind of the same, because they use the same notes, we get what sounds like a major pad. So we might need to go in here and kind of tweak the sample start. So like right there, it sounds more like A minor. And that's how you can create really epic pads within Falcon. You can also do this with samples and stuff. So we could bring in, like I showed the music box sample and do something like that. You could bring in like just one vocal and, you know, have it play and then stretch it out to oblivion using the granular engine. It's just a really, really cool way to make atmospheres. One final tip I wanted to demonstrate that also can do something similar and is just something interesting to try out is within your events, rather than having the Falcon punch stuff going on here, you could actually use the Euclidean tonal sequencer under sequencing here. So you could do this and just enable maybe the 1, the 3, 5, 6, and 7, maybe the octave, and just kind of mess with this until you get something cool. I'm just going to kind of tweak this for just a minute and just make it something like really, really slow. So maybe like half notes here. We could do C minor, and if I hold this down, we should get except we have all these layers right now, so I'm going to solo out just the pluck and grain one. There you go. So you could definitely do this as well with the Euclidean tonal sequencer and then bounce this out and then bring it back into a new instance of Falcon and stretch it out. Just a very, very, very cool way to work. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's it for this video, so thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon.